morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Nice to see so many smiling faces here today. I want to introduce a few people before I introduce our speaker. Janice Avery is from the corporate office of Mid-Carolina Electric Co-op, and she's put out all the mirrors, and you'll understand why the mirrors are there a little bit later this morning. Troy Simpsons is our speaker. He is Vice President of Member Services for Mid-Carolina Electric Co-op. He's been very busy, as you can imagine, with the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew, not only with his co-op, but other co-ops in the state. They work together to try to get that electricity back up. You know, we just take it for granted. You flip on the light and there it is. And when you don't have it, even for a little bit, I'm not talking about days or weeks, you kind of get angry. And you shouldn't, because it's a great luxury to have, and in a lot of countries, we just use candles. So we're very blessed in that way. Troy grew up in Ivor, South Carolina. He said if he'd stayed on the farm, he would have been fifth-generation farmer. So he'll share some more insights about his life with you. He's a graduate of Furman University. He and his wife have 3 children. He has traveled all over the world. He's a wonderful Christian man. So let's give Troy a nice round of applause. Oh, clicker in the middle.
Well, all right now.
Good morning.
I
I can't hear the audio level. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Pretty good? Okay.
All right now.
I am so glad
There
to
we
be
go.
with you here today. And when Ed called me a few months ago, he said, "Troy, would you be willing to come and share with us?" I said, I'd be delighted to. I'd love to, because I get to share about something that I'm very passionate about. And it's about bringing things to an end when necessary. And when my wife reads through all my stuff, she said, "Troy, when I read that first line, I'm like, who is this? Dr. Morgan?" You know, I'm like, okay, this will not be a Morgan talk. So again, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to come. I'd like to maybe talk to you a little bit this morning about maybe some of our thoughts and perceptions. I want to make sure that everybody has a mirror. And I want to go and get some practice in. Show me your mirror. Janice, you watch around. Anybody? Okay. If you don't like your mirror, you can horse trade. That's more than acceptable. Is everybody, just before we start, is everyone happy with your mirror? All right. And before you get too attached to it, I will need it back. So enjoy it the short while that you have it. Also make sure everybody should have a pen. And you should have a little eyeglass cleaner you can use on your cell phone. What I'd love for you to do, go ahead and open that up and we'll get some practice. Go ahead and clean your mirror. I want you to see that person clearly this morning. Okay. You can take a little cleaner with you, okay? And you also should have a pen there and a little stop sign in front of you. If you don't have a stop sign, I need you to make sure you have it. Anybody need a stop sign? I have some folks who are double fisting. If you need 2 mirrors, that's fine too. That's no problem. Okay, everybody's got a mirror, everybody's got your supply. Where I'd like to go this morning, I want to ask you a question. When you hear that something is coming to an end, don't overanalyze my question. When you hear that something is coming to an end, what's your first immediate gut reaction?
Yay!
Yay.
Yay? Yay? Sadness? Okay. So there's a whole range of emotions, right? Let's just play some scenarios real quick. Let's just say that you're having a root canal. And the doc coach just says about 10 more minutes. How do you feel? Yeah. You're feeling better, right? That's coming to an end. All right? The pain's coming to an end, and tomorrow's going to be a whole lot better. Let's say that a job you love is coming to an end. How do you feel about that? Sad. But nobody's counting. Nobody's counting. Congratulations. Let's say that you have just lost a dear friend. How do you feel about that loss? I think it's a hard place to walk. But maybe your grief may be a little bit conflicted because maybe this person suffered for a long, long time, and maybe there's even a sense of, you might feel guilty at times, of relief. But it's still sad, right? Think about how you process different things when it comes to endings and what your perception is. Sometimes we become hardwired on how we process things coming to an end. I think if we're all honest, it really depends on the situation. It depends on your perspective, maybe your past experience, and maybe your view of the future. There are lots of factors that determine how you perceive an ending, and the prospect of ending may place us somewhere between exhilaration, I'm excited, 161 days, or it can be crippling fear. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. Okay? So with that in mind, I want you, at this point, I'm going to ask something of you. And this will be internal. I want you, as best you can, as we go forward through our next few minutes together, I want this to be about you. Okay? I want this to be about you. You may process some other people as it's running through your heart and through your mind, but as best you can, I want you to be as honest with yourself as you can. Can you agree to do that with me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's get started. We use this term often. We speak of something coming to an end. We speak of something having an untimely end. We even call a street that comes to an end, we call it a dead end. Right. When we say we're coming to the end of the road, something is coming to an end. It's not going to go any further. Sometimes endings have a negative connotation. And sometimes, if we're honest, if we're not sure where the next step is, we become apprehensive. We become a little bit, maybe even defensive about what maybe we should do next. But could it be, and this is where I want you to start getting honest with yourself, could it be, if we open that door just a little bit wider, could we even consider that maybe a new and even better direction is just outside that door? And it's waiting on us. The tomorrow you desire and envision may never come to pass if you don't end some of the things you're doing today. I want you to think about that. That may never come to pass unless something else comes to the end. Today I'll be sharing some various thoughts about things coming to an end. I want you to begin now even ask yourself again. Remember, I'm asking you to be honest. How do I really view endings? How does this affect how I deal with transitions? Now I'm going to be sharing some thoughts this morning from a favorite book of mine. And my wife has told me, she said, Troy, you cannot gift any more of these. You can't give any more away. That's no longer in the budget. A friend gave me this a few years ago, and it has been transformational in my life, but it's also been neat that I've been able to walk alongside some folks through some endings they have gone through as well. But when you hear, even when you hear the title of that book or you read it on the screen, Necessary Endings, what hits you first? If somebody said, that is necessary, how do you feel? Good? Does anybody feel pushed in the corner?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If you've ever been told, this is absolutely necessary and you need to do this, what's your reaction?
Pushback.
A little pushback. Okay? And that's okay. That's okay. All right, this is our first exercise. You ready? I need you to grab your mirror. This is what I want you to do. Once you have your mirror, it is all about you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. It's a good Friday already. Okay? All right. Once you have your mirror in front of you, I want you to be very intently focused on the person in that mirror. You got it? Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Who are you looking at? Okay. Maybe it's been a while since you took a moment to look at yourself. Some of you are still looking at me. I want you to look into your eyes, and I want you to tell me what you see. You can do that inside. You can verbalize it inside. And I want you to hear these words. You are amazing. You are amazing. You are the only one of you that has ever been and will ever be. You are uniquely you. All 37.2 trillion cells of you. All 100,000 miles in your blood vessels. If in cold, your DNA and all of your cells in your body would stretch nearly 10 billion miles. Your heart will pump nearly 1.5 billion barrels of blood in your lifetime. Your eyes can spot a flickering candle from 30 miles away. And your eyes, if you continue to look deeply enough, can tell you so many things. Well, you see, they have seen your life from your earliest memories. They have witnessed the becoming of you. But they also, too, can learn to look the other way. Now, I want you to remain focused on that person just for a second. I want you to, before you look away, and I want you to say this to yourself, and it's not a morbid thought, I am worth a good ending. Go ahead.
I am worth a good ending.
You can put your mirror down. Does it feel a little weird to stare at yourself? Okay, for a long time. What's our usual morning routine? If we have a chance to dash by a mirror, it's quick and we're on our way, right? You might take a brief glance during the day, but most of the time, where are we looking? Out everywhere else. I want to share a little bit of my story. Before coming to Mid Carolina Electric, I was in ministry for over 20 years. And I served in both churches, large and small, and I have lived to tell about it. And before that, I was in banking with Bank of America. And I've had the opportunity to walk alongside some folks in some pretty significant places. I've walked with folks as they have battled addictions and diseases. I have walked with folks in the corporate landscape as jobs have been transitioned out, departments and divisions. I've walked with folks as they struggle through their marriages and their relationships. Sometimes they chose to go together, and sometimes they went separate ways. I've been by bedsides and begged and pleaded for just a little more time. Done a lot of weddings, done a lot of funerals. Been there when folks took their first breath. Now, share all that picture with you for just a moment. As I look back over these years, there have been moments I've seen the human spirit be all that it was intended to be. And I've also seen how we can collectively get it oh so wrong. Over the last 2 decades, I've seen a lot come and go here in our community, as have many of you. But about 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, I really began to struggle on a personal level to say, okay, Troy, there's something changing in you. It's time for a change in your life. And I began to say, what's up with that? What's up with that? At that point, I had pretty much said, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. But there was a time that I knew something was happening inside. So I want to share some thoughts this morning on that perspective of making the transition, but more specifically the value of bringing that thing to an end so you can go to a better place. Now I'll go ahead and tell you, and I'm not right in front of you, but I look you in the eye and say, I don't have all the answers. I'm still a student of life, I'm in process, but man, what a ride it's been. So let's hang on. It's during this season that a friend of mine recommended this book called Necessary Endings, and it allowed me, probably the best way I can put this, it allowed me to form some handholds. It allowed me to better understand what was happening in my heart and my mind, and quite frankly, it scared me, because I was at a crossroads on so many more levels than I even realized. So I read the book the first time, and I circled and I dated and all sort of things, and then I went back and I read it again, and the third time. It wasn't just time for a change for me, it was time for an ending. As the author would call it, it was a necessary ending. You see, it gave me the tools to see myself and my situation in an honest light. Now, before we get into that, I want you to do something. I'm going to level the playing field just a little bit. There may be some of you who come in here this morning and say, hey, you know what, Troy, in my role and what I do, I appreciate the soft stuff, but at the end of the day, I have to make sure this bottom line is taken care of. I have to make sure that this is happening. Or maybe you know somebody like that. So I'll go ahead and give you a way out even as we get started. If there are no areas of your life there are no relationships, both past and present, if there are no issues with your workplace, with your colleagues, with your friends, with your children, if there's nothing that you sense maybe needs a little tweaking, then you're off the hook. I want to meet you for lunch because we're going to write a book together. But for the rest of you who are telling the truth, remember I asked for honesty. For the rest of you, this is where I want us to go. You received this morning, in addition to your mirror and pen, a little folded piece of paper. There's a direct message at the front. Everybody show me that you got that? A little direct message. What does it say?
Stop it.
Stop it. Okay. I want to ask you these questions. Is there anything, any situation in my life, and again, I'm asking for honesty, personal, professional, otherwise, that I need to change? Is there anything that I need to pay attention to? Is there anything that I maybe need to bring to an end? Is there anything that I've been avoiding? Is there anything that I've been putting off for whatever reason? Or maybe you've just been hoping something will change. But if you're honest, you know that unless you probably take some necessary steps, it's not going to be. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have with an employee. Maybe with your boss. Maybe with somebody you love a whole bunch. Or maybe it's the role you find yourself in right now. Professionally, you may be in a situation where you have tried and tried and tried. You have done everything within your power. And this is not moving. And maybe you're just saying in your heart of hearts, you're just saying, hey, I'm just resigned. This is my lot in life. It's what it is. Maybe it's a personal struggle that's plagued you or a family member. Maybe it's a situation that has become so toxic, you are now in very real danger. Maybe you're not sure where to turn. I'm going to ask you a direct question. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Remember, we were looking through our eyes a moment ago. I planted a seed there. I said, we can also learn to do what? To look the other way. One of my favorite clinicians, and I hope soon to be one of yours, is a fellow by the name of Bob Newhart. Now, some of you may remember him from years ago, and as you will see, if you're not familiar with Bob, you will see he has an amazing ability to empathize with his client, and I believe he provides us with some really deep, useful insights on how to bring things to a close, how to bring things to an end and get on with life. I want you to pay particularly close attention to what Bob is doing when the video clips start. It's a YouTube video, so it may be a little jumpy, but I want you to pay attention to what Bob is up to from that end. Now, again, please see this in a fun way, okay? There's no statement being made here, so just work with Bob, okay? We're still going to work with Bob.
exactly the same thing you're saying. I mean, this is not Yiddish, Catherine. This is, stop it.
So I should just stop it.
There you go. I mean, you don't want to go through life being scared of being buried alive in a box. Remember that? It's frightening. Then stop it.
I can't, and it's been with me since childhood.
No, we don't go there. Just
I should just stop being afraid of being buried alive in a box.
you got it. Good girl. Well, it's only been 3 minutes, so that will be $3.
But I only have a 5, so.
I don't exchange.
I'll take the full 5 minutes.
All right. Well, what other problems would you like to address?
I'm bulimic. I stick my fingers down my throat.
Stop it. Some kind? Don't do that.
But I'm compelled to. My mom used to call me fat.
No, we don't go there. No, we don't go there either.
But my horoscope did say.
We definitely don't go there. Stop it. What else?
Well, I have self-destructive relationships with men.
Stop it. You want to be with a man, don't you?
Yes.
Well, then stop it. Don't skip big dating.
I wash my hands a lot.
That's all right. I wash my hands all the time. There's a lot of germs. Yeah, don't worry about that.
I'm afraid to drive.
Well, stop it. How are you gonna get around? Get in the car and drive, you kook.
You stop it!
What's the problem, Kathy?
I don't like this. I don't like this therapy at all. You're just telling me to stop it.
And you don't like it?
No, I don't.
So you think we're moving too fast, is that it?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right, then let me give you 10 words that I think will clear everything up for you. You want to get a pad and a pencil?
All right.
You ready? Right here are the 10 words. Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box!
What I want you to do now is look first to your right, and then with a big, hearty stop it, share that with your neighbor. All right, and not to leave out our neighbors on the left, look to your left and if it were just that easy, right? Just like that it's done, but in some ways, maybe it's not as hard as we think if we're willing to address the uncomfortable. Did you notice what Bob was doing when the clip started? What was he doing? Washing his hands, right? And what did he tell her? He said, no, that's okay. You do that. We become like that, right? Sort of that speck in our neighbor's eye. We can't see our own stuff. We're not aware of our own blind spots. I want to know how many, and you can answer this just in your mind or heart, how many of you either coach, advise, manage, or supervise others? Okay? Think about what you're able to see in someone else's life. But how often do you slow down? How often do I slow down to look in here? Think about it. Why is it easier to look at someone else and know exactly what they need to do? I want you to do me a favor. Pick your mirror up. If you had a chance to read the little handout and the little inside of words about the videotape or the movie play before we go, with beer in hand, I want you to look that person in the eye again. Whatever initially came to your heart and to your mind, I want you to kindly but firmly say, stop. And just in case you didn't hear yourself, one more time, kindly but firmly say to yourself, stop. You can put your mirror back down. Before I could stop it in my own life, there was a concept and an idea that I first had to come to terms with. It was incredibly simple, and it was this. Before a new beginning could happen in my life, something had to come to an end. Now, that's not earth-shattering. Now, most of us are probably familiar with the book of Ecclesiastes, and it's filled with wisdom, but it tells us, just plain and simple, life is made up of seasons. There's a time and a place for everything. But somehow we get muddled up in the confusion of the situation. We find ourselves avoiding needed dialogue with people. We dance around the truth, and usually out of fear, we put off to tomorrow what we should have taken care of today. We continue to hope things will change, and we miss out on the joy of a new season. Endings are a part of life. There's no getting around it. Life has seasons, stages, and phases. You think about even our human lifespan. We start as infants, and then we grow into toddlers. And then we become, hopefully, adolescents, and then hopefully young adults, and then into adulthood. When we mess those phases up or we don't allow that to happen, everybody suffers, right? I've seen the simple tenets of this book work from the boardroom to the classroom, from the home front to the storefront. There's no way I can even begin to cover the contents that you'll find when you open it inside. But I encourage you, if you grab the book, I don't get a cut from its sales. I've just found it's been a useful tool. But I encourage you, as you read through it, write notes. See what resonates for you. Now, as I read through the book, there was one image that continued to stand out in my mind. I was so frustrated at work. I was frustrated at the lack of planning and vision. I was frustrated at the lack of trust in team. I was frustrated that seeing no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't find the traction we needed. We weren't making any changes. Folks around me were okay with decline and even began to defend it. I was tired of beating my head against the wall and showing up each Sunday and putting the mask on as if nothing were wrong. The scary part for me was I was getting more and more okay with just washing my hands. I became defensive. When folks said, hey, well, why don't you do this? I tried that. Why don't you try something else? I've done that too. Maybe you should try something new. No, I've invested my life here. As I looked at my life, my current work situation, how I was spending my waking hours, the things that kept me up at night, the things that were weighing on me, that were draining me, that were literally starting to affect all areas of my life. My role as a husband, my role as a father, a friend, and even my health. I began to really wrestle in an honest way with that word picture. Troy, you can insert your name here. Troy, if your life, as you know it right now, with all its complicated parts, pieces, and storylines, if it were playing right now as a movie, and you could watch it, if you could play that movie for 6 months, 1 year's time, 2 years, 3, 5 years' time, will anything in your current situation change? Will the outcome change? And for me, that was a gut change. The things that are literally eating you alive, you repeatedly address the powers that be in your situation, whoever that may be. If those circumstances don't change and healthy steps aren't taken towards a resolution, Troy, and this is mirror talk, are you willing to live? Can you continue down this path? Honestly, Troy, what are the chances of different results? I got to the point where I finally said, no. No. No more. It's dated in my book. It's off to the side. It said, this is it. Now, I don't know about you. I can't just run off and quit my job. I have responsibilities. The funny thing was, I had counseled folks through the years the value of moving on when necessary. And now I needed to hear it. I I can't tell you how many times we collectively, how many times we choose to remain with what's comfortable, even though it's very, very painful. But now it was me, so that made it different, right? Now again, I want to say, I don't know your personal situation, but as you weigh out where you are in the journey, I want you to consider this. Remaining where you are is like choosing to remain in a jail cell when the door is open. I want that word picture just to wash over your heart this morning. Because what happens to us as humans, we become comfortable with the uncomfortable. We might complain about it, but we're not willing to leave that cell. In fact, we even go so far as to dress that cell up and we call it home. Think about it. How many of us are choosing to stay within the cell when the door is open? What I found was I had to create a sense of urgency to act. Either it was time to move and stick with that, or I was going to remain. Ask yourself this question: what if you don't? What if you don't? You and I, we were not just designed to cope, we were designed to thrive, and there is a big difference. There is a world of difference. Coping is a wonderful mechanism, but you and I were designed to thrive. Now hear me say this. In my time in business, in my time at the church, in other previous lives, there's one thing I've learned. There are times as a leader where you have to hang in there. You have to gut it out. You have to get it done. I get it. You have to walk through a season of sacrifice to get it done. It is the stuff leadership is made of. By all means, if that's where you are right now, finish the job. Complete the task. Stand in the gap if that's what's asked of you. If that's what's needed, that is the right thing to do. You are placed there for such a time as this. You are the change agent. As I look back, I think about some incredibly difficult calls I had to make on terminations, organizational changes, and a couple of times even falling on the sword to make sure it was moving in the right direction. I was making calls that would not only alter my family's life, their futures, but also individuals who worked with me. It's tough, but it also goes with the territory of leadership. Follow through and get it done. I remember one time my son was in middle school and my wife and I were talking through some things, and as it was appropriate, we let our kids know what was happening and changes and that sort of thing, not in a scary way, just to make them aware some change was probably coming. My son just looked at me, he's like, "Why do you have to be the one to do it all the time?" "Why, Dad? Why are you in that fight?" I explained to him, I said, "This one's on me. This one's mine to lead through, it's mine to pick up. I'll go ahead and advise you. Not everybody will be excited or even embrace your ideas about a necessary evil. I have heard over and over, and we live in the Bible Belt, right? Blessed are the peacemakers. Anybody agree with that?
Yes.
It's incredibly true. But I also want to challenge you in that. Because we live in the Bible Belt, sometimes out of politeness, we won't speak our mind or our heart. Peacemaking is one of the hardest jobs you will ever do. I'm going to say that again. Peacemaking is one of the hardest jobs you will ever do. You know why? Because you are forced to tell the truth. How many times, don't raise your hand, how many times have you had an opportunity you just know you were supposed to speak into it, and you backed off? Who'd you hurt? Tell the truth. Not in a hurtful or vengeful way. But if you're willing to tell the truth, you can actually lead people to a better place, a healthier paradigm, a true place of peace, a changed future, and a good end. You have within your power, within your capacity right now to bring things to an end so that healthy beginning can occur for somebody. And maybe that's you. It's the right things being done for the right reasons. Jim Collins wrote some years ago in Good to Great, there's some folks in your organization who are on the wrong seats in the bus. Okay, how many read that? And if you haven't read the book, it means they're doing the wrong job, they're in the wrong place, they need to be in a different seat. They need to be in a different seat. Why? So that they can what? Flourish. Flourish. So they can grow, so they can thrive. I want to ask you this. I want you to look at this. And if that is your job as a leader, addressing that change, I want you to wrestle with this. Do you care enough to do it? I didn't ask you if you could. I didn't ask you if you would. I asked you something very different. I asked you what?
Care.
You care enough. Do you care enough about the individual? Do you care enough about your organization and the vision of the organization to tend to it? Because if not, until you do, your organization, your clients, your customers, the product you deliver, the person you are thinking of right now, they will suffer. If you continue to ignore that situation, how do you think that affects your bottom line? That's where you're concerned with. I'll give you a quick story. I sat with a personnel group one time, and they had chosen to give an individual an extended time away from work. Things were kind of squirrely, things were kind of mixed up. And I said, let me get this straight. You are giving an individual who is a consistent underperformer of your organization, you're going to give them extended time away. May I ask you why? I don't have anything to lose. I'll leave in 30 minutes. May I ask you why? Well, we hope that when he goes on this extended time, he will come to realize he's not a good fit. And I looked around the room and I went, are you kidding me? This guy's not going anywhere. He's got the best deal in town. He's holding you and your organization emotionally hostage. They're not going anywhere. What had the group just done? It's personnel, folks. What have they just done? What a very good necessary. What they needed to do is where I said, are you willing to address it? They were not. They decided that rather than go there, it would cost too much collateral damage to address that. Pick up your mirror. I don't know what situation you may find yourself in. I don't know what your role is and where you are. Look at your mirror. Whatever situation may have come to mind since we started even a few minutes ago, don't look at me. Look at your mirror. Kindly to yourself. Say, address it. I don't know if I had enough conviction. I need you to address it. Now, you put the mirror back in. I want to say this, I want you to be reminded there's an honorable way to make change and transitions happen. I hope you'll seek endings for others in a healthy way and for yourself. There's a healthy way to do it. How you do this matters. Don't forget to value people in the process. So what about today? That circumstance that has repeatedly come to mind, earlier things, people, situations that have already crossed your mind that you failed to speak into, what will you now do with it? What will you do with that piece of information? How will you move forward? And I want to encourage you this way. Take some time to think. Take some time to pray through, what is it I'm supposed to do? Maybe you have some long-held ideas about an individual, a situation that are maybe wrong. Now, I'm not going to let you off the hook with this, but what I ask you to do, I want you to go deeper to seek yourself. I want you to invite somebody who knows you and perhaps a situation to speak into your life. To provide some measure of accountability, because you know what will happen when we're all human? What will we do? We'll look away and we'll push it further down the road. Well, I'll get to that next quarter. Or I'll wait until review time. Don't do that. This accountability moving forward will keep you on track and it'll keep day-to-day life from derailing the thing you need to do. The bottom line is this. We're wearing that mirror out, but pick it up one more time. And don't look at me. I need you as intently as you ever have. Look in that mirror. Okay? As best you can right now, I want you to ask that person you see, if he or she wants to lie to you or tell you the truth. If the answer came back lie, then relax. You're off the hook. Catch a little rest before we dismiss and you head to work. You've essentially decided this. You're looking in your mirror. You've essentially decided the person in the mirror isn't worth the fight. And I would submit, I'd encourage you to dig a little deeper into whatever allowed you just to dismiss that moment we just had. I would also submit that whatever you're holding on to, and I'll call it a lie, it's old as humankind itself. Call it what it is. To let it be, you put your mirror down, to let it be whatever that is wrong. And we'll say it once more. To let it be whatever that is wrong. We all know the outcome historically when good people fail to do what? Speak up. When they look the other way, people suffer. How about let's not count ourselves in that number? You see, when we fear rocking the boat, when we settle for status quo, nobody wins, and ultimately people get hurt. We settle for what looks like comfort, and it leads to the downfall of something or somebody. Did you catch that? It leads to the downfall of something or somebody, and sometimes that's you and me. Honesty and integrity are critical, but it's more and more rare. Now, if we went around the room and took a poll right now, I'm sure we would all agree that we personally believe honesty should pervade every area of our lives. How we treat others, our family, our clients, our coworkers, our neighbors. But again, how honest are you willing to be with yourself and deal with your own blind spots? It may be time for some honest self-assessment and go a little deeper of why you won't make the needed changes that are coming to your heart right now. Now, when I read the title, I was intrigued, but the subtitle that caught my eye said what all of us have to do, the things that all of us have to give up in order to move forward. And I think there's the struggle. This whole idea of giving something up, this whole idea of changing something, stepping outside our comfort zone. Anybody love a routine? Deep down we do. Okay? Deep down we do. And sometimes, even if it's unhealthy or dysfunctional, we get locked in there and fail to rock the boat. We get comfortable with being uncomfortable. As Patrick Lencioni would discuss in his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of Team, he would say, hey, what we come to a place where we settle for artificial harmony. Artificial harmony. Artificial means what? Fake. You're getting through it. You're getting it done. But man, that can slap wear you out. Are you settling for real? Are you willing to pursue real? Or are you going to settle for artificial harmony? Back in the 70s, some poets called the Eagles, they said, every form of refuge has its price. What price are you willing to pay? And what will be the ultimate cost that you live with? I want to share just a couple different excerpts, and I'll close from here from Dr. Cloud. In both our personal and our professional lives, there are times when reality dictates that we must stand up and end something in our lives. Either its time has passed, its season is over, and continuing along that path will be destructive in some ways. I want to share just a couple examples just to get you thinking. Please don't hear any of the following as uncaring, calloused, or any way flippant advice. But maybe you or someone you know, maybe it's time to end a dating relationship that's not going where it needs to go. Maybe it's time to terminate an employee that should have been fired long ago. Maybe it's time for you and others to get out of some social ties and activities or commitments whose season has passed. Maybe it's time to let go of a dream that's not going to materialize, and it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to leave a job or career that you know is not right and has even become toxic for you. Maybe it's time to end a marriage damaged by repeated unfaithfulness that is not changing. Maybe it's time to be honest and just admit to yourself something is failing. Maybe it's time to swallow our pride and wave the white flag. Maybe it's time to unplug from toxic friendships or family ties. Maybe it's time, again, don't hear this as uncaring. Maybe it's time to give up on an addict who doesn't want change. But the truth is, and we see it all the time with clear evidence staring us right in the face, but sometimes it's because it's in our face, we're too close. find it difficult to make the move. Sometimes it's out of sheer fear. Maybe sometimes it's perceived inabilities. I can't do that. Let me give you a couple more examples. You can't really tell, is it actually necessary? So we kind of hedge on the other side. It's not necessary just yet. Maybe this person is fixable. Time will tell, but let me ask you this. What's your threshold? Do you have one? Maybe you're afraid of the loss and sadness it will bring. I'm pushing hard on that. How's it going to work out if it remains the way it is? Maybe you fear the confrontation, or maybe you don't feel you have the skills to do it. Are you willing to continue to live life as you know it? Do you need somebody to step in the ring with you? I bet somebody would. Maybe you fear the unknown. Let me ask you a quick question. Who of us in this room really knows what today holds? I was wanting one hand to get anybody for lunch on the first one, so I wanted to take somebody else to lunch. None of us do. And this is not a bad one. You fear hurting the person. I get that. But how you do it matters. I guarantee you, you're not the only person affected by the offense. Maybe you had one too many painful endings in your personal history and you don't want another one. You've blown endings before. I get it. Again, would you be willing to take somebody with you? Would you be willing to become equipped to deal with standing in your way? Probably all of us can relate to maybe something on these lists, but it comes down to this point. Endings are necessary. They're a part of life. Now, before I close, I want you to do this. I want you to think about this. I even just said endings are a part of life, and it's true, whether we choose to embrace it or not. But for a host of reasons we have touched on, we shy away from the very steps that could open up whole new worlds of development and growth. Did you hear that? For whatever reason, we shy away from what could be a whole new beginning. As best you can. Where you sit right now, I want you to begin to take inventory and then take the steps you need to face the fears that are getting in your way. If you will, you might find yourself getting unstuck and entering that whole new season of life. And that's exciting. So I'm going to close with this. Which season are you in? In your business life, your professional life, and with your other relationships? Which season are you in? What in your particular circumstance needs to grow forward? And I want you to go deeper. What steps, beginning when? Beginning when? What steps will you take to make it a reality? What are you willing to do to stop it? It's my hope that you and I will begin to stand up and end something so that a new season will begin. One last time, I want you to pick up your mirror. And I want you to hold your gaze steady. No looking up. No looking about. The person you see right now, the person that you have known for as long as you can remember, is worth a good ending. And I want you to say this. I am worth a good ending. And before you break your gaze away, keep staring at that mirror. Before you break away your gaze, rush off into the day that awaits, I want both of you, the person you see in the mirror and the person holding that mirror, I want both of you to agree to make it so. Thank you so much for your time.
We have some time. I think that Troy would be open to answering some questions that you might have on the book or things that he's been aware of that changed in his life that's made it better for him. This is one of the best sessions I've been in since ATD. This
God has a sense of humor. I started out in the corporate world after I left Furman and was in banking for a while, so I kind of had that piece or that taste of it, if you will. And then when I met my wife, we both began in youth ministry together. And she too had been in banking, and we had actually served in ministry together for many years, almost 20 years. And so going back out was a little bit scary for me. And I'll be honest with you, I work with Mid-Carolina Electric Company. I am Janice, I guess the only non-engineer sitting around the table. So a lot of times they shake their head at me, but what I bring to the table that I found, I'll be honest with you, I was scared to death. Okay, I couldn't tell you a kilowatt to a kilowatt hour, and all I knew was I flip that light, the power comes on. Okay, so the learning curve for me, even as I began, and as I continue to grow, the company has been like this. But the neat thing is, and what I found, and we'll go back to your place of transition, pretty much everything we do is about people and relationships. When I work in the church, rarely do people come by and say, hey, just stop by, I want to let you know I'm just having a Jesus-filled day. Sometimes, okay, sometimes. But most of the time, there was something going on. Either they didn't like the hymn we sang last Sunday, or, there were some different things that were happening. But, by and large, I found that skill set you can use anywhere. And what I do at member services, rarely do people call me and say, hey, the lights were great last night. I don't get that. Usually it's, I can't believe my white girl did this. So, do you see what I'm saying? So those skills and that transition, it's one of those things I tell people now, and I say with a smile on my face, I pray now more than I ever did. But it's also been a whole new, I think I'm going to use a whole new ministry for me, just a different context. Does that work? Thank you. Yes, sir.
I think not only my organization, but other organizations going through a lot of change now with the boomers making decisions about leaving the workforce, either voluntarily or maybe the kind of work we're doing is they're not prepared to do. New technology, new ways of doing things, changing work at the way the work itself is changing. How can this message be transported to learning and performance professionals like in the room?
Sure. Great question, Bobby. I guess what I would offer, and I maybe should have camped out there a little bit longer, when I came to Mid-Carolina Electric, my predecessor had been there for 40 years. Let that sink in for a minute. Okay? Not only did he know everything, he'd written everything. And he's a great guy. So I told people, I said, hey, I'm not here to take Eddie's place, and some of you may know Eddie, great, wonderful person, but I'm following behind him. And we may take some different roads, some new roads in time. We have, and Janice can attest to this, we have implemented a whole new customer service system. We had we had a computer system that was 30 years old. Think about that in terms of technology, okay? We had people fight us over this new system. I said, but if the old system truly died, where would I have been? Where would you have been? How would I have helped you as a member or customer? The same internally. I think the biggest thing, Bobby, when you're making, particularly when you look at folks, I think you probably know the direction you need to go as a company or as a division or department. You know that. What I would submit to you, care for the people who are part of that. What I've spent the majority of my time, and Janice can attest to that, what I've spent the majority of my time doing these last few months, we flipped the switch in June 6th and 7th. That's why I got a little more snow on the roof now, all right? We flipped the switch and went live with a new system. I've spent the majority of my time putting my arms around people. Because their department didn't used to work this way, and now it's automated, and I'm not sure how do I bridge that? How do I bring that together? So I would encourage you, paint a clear vision, but also care for the people and give them the necessary handholds they need to grow forward. Everybody has a place at the table, and you may need to remind them of that. Is that fair?
Yes, thank you.
I think, hi, Troy. I've known this man for 7 years. He's just but anyway, what are you doing, I guess for all of us, what are we doing with the folks who are the encore people, who are ready to, who have 35 years of experience? And I always feel it's the baby boomers, it's our job to teach the other generations how to have relationships with each other. That's what we're there for. We're not here for the technology part. We're here to help them have good business relationships. So how are we, I can get all answers, how are you people transition into the next part of their lives, but also maybe keeping them part-time as consultants, because, you know, I don't know about any of your pocketbooks, but I know I need to work past the time that's always talked about. What do you do? Are you doing anything with the encores with those 40-year people that you're doing?
Well,
Keeping them some.
are you talking about the folks who are now retirement age, or they are doing some second career? Or whatever?
Second career, or you want to keep some of their knowledge before they walk out the door with all that knowledge?
I think it's a both and. For instance, my predecessor, we kept him on for a while because they were scared of what I might do. But it was also a place to make it a healthy transition. That's something we asked for from him. I mean, he could have said, thank the Lord, I'm done. Okay? But he also cared enough about the organization to say, I want this to transition well. You know, we had to have some very honest dialogue, Eddie and I, and that went well. I said, I need to make sure I'm not stepping on your legacy, but there are also things I think we need to make turn a little bit. And he goes, one of his favorite phrases is, ooh, don't do that. Okay? but that's also, he cared deeply for the organization. Don't discount that. It was funny, we got 2 kids in college now, and one soon to come behind. And I've been with the company a little over 2 years now, and when we're talking with our kids about the transition, my wife she's actually taking classes to become certified. She's teaching already, but we both started brand new careers. We're redefining ourselves at 48 and 49, and John Robb just raised his hand. Does this mean we still go to college? Yes. It may look a little different. We may figure it out a different way, but yes, life will go on. And I said, it's one of those things I looked at him, I said, John Robb, I said, son, I said, if you take nothing away from your parents, I want you to know this. And I don't know where everybody is from a faith perspective, but part of our story is God is faithful. God is faithful, and he has a plan. I could have never written the script that I have now walked through. Okay? If you told me I was going to be sitting around a table with engineers, I'd be, yeah, right. Okay? For the first 6 months, I was just trying to learn acronyms, what they meant, that whole place. But I think it's one of those things, when you begin to redefine yourself and you're open to the changes that are necessary to come with that, you're going to be okay. Yes, sir.
I want to pick up on number. What's your name?
Alicia?
Alicia, I want to pick up on her comment. I'm working in a particular civic organization, and it seems like we're recognizing that there should have been a transition. Like there should have been a lot of more youth and more millennials trying to get into the next level of leadership. But admittedly, at one point, the senior leadership wasn't taking those necessary endings. So you were getting this talent bottleneck, and then our congregation, our audience was changing and looking more like the millennials, but not having people who were being able to reach their needs. So we definitely need the wisdom, but because we haven't had those abilities to transition, the organization was starting to fail a little bit. So just to your point, I think it's great, and I think sometimes the connotation is that millennials don't want wisdom. They don't want the older people around, but that's really not the case. It's like we had this talent, and we had this ambition, but we don't really know, is it okay for us to start stepping in and taking some of those responsibilities away without being disrespectful or dishonorable.
And that's an excellent point, but I think if you couch that in care and in trust, and then follow through with that, you'll have that interaction. I know Janice and I, we were coaching a colleague not long ago on some things that are vital to organization. And it wasn't that she didn't care, and it came back. I believe it was a pivotal point in her career. But because we cared enough to sit down, look her in the eye, and address the issue that was at hand, it would have been very easy to